Let's focus on the good times ahead, and that's these next 2 weeks. And to do that, let's bring in our national football editor, Steven Spiewak. And Steve, we got 2 weeks to go. A lot of big games this weekend. Tell us about some of the bigger ones across the country.
Steve, the theme of this weekend is rematch. There are several huge games that took place last year and are taking place again this year, and it all starts in the Lone Star State of Texas, where 2 top 5 teams are doing battle on Saturday, Allen and DeSoto. DeSoto, just an explosive offensive team, both this year and last year, and when they met Allen last year, Allen got the upper hand 51-36. That was a game that DeSoto entered as a favorite. This year, Allen enters as the favorite as the nation's number 2 ranked team. They're led by their sensational junior quarterback, Kyler Murray, who is a National Player of the Year candidate. But DeSoto has a National Player of the Year candidate as well, and their 5'9" quarterback, Desmond White. It was White who led DeSoto last week to a big come-from-behind victory over Euless Trinity. So those 2 guys going at it on Saturday. This is the game of the year in the state of Texas, and a game that I'm really, really excited about. Now, another rematch is taking place in Northern California. De La Salle taking on Folsom for the 2nd time in the regional bowl game of the California Open Division. Last year, De La Salle dominated this one 49-15. It was a big letdown because this game was really highly anticipated, but De La Salle was able to stifle Jake Browning, who completed only 38 of 64 passes for 284 yards, and De La Salle actually intercepted him twice that game. But this year, Jake Browning is on a whole nother level. He's averaging 385 yards a game and 5.3 touchdowns every single game. But I think, guys, that the storyline here could be the De La Salle rushing attack going up against Folsom's defense. Last year, De La Salle was able to score 6 times on the ground, and that Folsom run defense looks a little shaky, seeing how they performed against the likes of Jesuit. So that is the key matchup. Forget about Jake Browning. It's can Folsom slow down the De La Salle running game? But there's another huge matchup in California, this time down in Southern California for the Open Division regional game down there. Corona Centennial taking on St. John Bosco. Centennial, guys, probably the most consistent program in Southern California over the last decade. They are always in a mix, seemingly, for the CIF bowl games. And last year in this game, they knocked off Narbonne. And to get to this game this year, they defeated Vista Murrieta, and they are posting some silly offensive numbers. They scored 751 points so far on the season. But I'll tell you what, St. John Bosco can post points as well. They've scored 665 points, and they are led by their outstanding junior quarterback, Josh Rosen, one of the best recruits in the country, regardless of class, at the quarterback position. St. John Bosco is undefeated. They rolled through a very, very difficult Trinity League schedule. And if they're able to get past Centennial tomorrow night, guys, it could set up a huge matchup potentially with De La Salle. And as we've talked about in the past, a St. John Bosco versus De La Salle bowl matchup could be one of the most heavily anticipated games in California state history. But we'll wrap up in the state of Florida with another rematch. Armwood against Miami Central. These 2 teams met for a state final in 2010. And really, they're 2 of the more talented and successful programs in the state of Florida. Armwood is led by their head coach, Sean Callahan, and Miami Central by their outstanding first-year head coach, Roland Smith. In the 2010 game, Armwood won 40-31, but due to some ineligible players, actually both teams had to forfeit this game, so the title was basically vacated. So you know both teams are probably a little hungrier to come out on top tomorrow. In that game, Delvin Cook, the sensational, at that time, freshman for Miami Central, returned a 99-yard kickoff return the distance for a touchdown. This year, he's been great as well, but without Joseph Yerby, who's lost due to injury, I think Miami Central is really going to focus on getting Cook the ball. But that Armwood defense, guys, could be up to the task. They've allowed 9.7 points per game, and that's the calling card for Armwood. It's their defense. So it'll be really interesting to see when that loaded Miami Central offense goes up against that stout Armwood defense.